Hey everyone, it's Michael Kikle, and I hope you're doing well today. I have a review here for a show that means the world to me. One that I just finished rewatching all the way through right before October. Happy October 1st. If this gets uploaded on the 1st, we'll see. But this is a show that I watched all the time. On TV Land, Nick at Night, all the channels I could, whether I was at home, whether I eventually went on beach trips once a year with my family. I was constantly rewatching this show that was way before my time, almost 20 years before my time. My mom showed it to me. It's one of our favorite sitcoms ever. Probably in my top 5 personal sitcoms and TV shows of all time. Up there with Boy Meets World and Family Matters and Fresh Prince and all of these shows that I love and grew up on. Anyway, this is the show that had a pilot in 1976 premiere and then eventually had the show take off in 1977, running all the way to 1984. This is Three's Company. Now there's a newer box set that actually has the 2 spin-offs, which I'm really pissed off about because I got this like the year before that came out. But I still love this. This is the show I mainly love. Not so much the spin-offs. I'll kind of cover a couple of thoughts about those later on. But just in case you don't know, Three's Company might be the most formulaic show of all time. It lasted way, way, way longer, like 7 times longer, because I think it's 7 or 8 seasons long, than the original show that it's actually a remake of called Man About the House. I think it was from Australia or Britain or something. I've never seen it, but I don't really have any thoughts because I haven't seen it. So I won't get into that. But Three's Company was, in watching it now, it really hit home how it is the most formulaic show of all time. And I could say that typically, but like it's not one of those things where people eventually notice it on the internet once upon a time in the future. No, this really from the get-go is always about misunderstandings. Everybody's either hearing something in another room that they're not supposed to hear, that they hear chunks of and they don't hear the whole story. They get it confused, spread it around the neighborhood and the house and whatever. Everybody else gets all up in arms about this fake drama, fake situation. That's a lot of the episodes for this show. But it's not just that. It could be things like the bar that they go to called the Regal Beagle. There could be misunderstandings that happen there. But the characters are why you're here, and that's what really makes this show fun. I love pretty much everybody's performance here. There's a handful of characters I'll get into in a moment. There won't be spoilers or anything. I don't really do spoilers on my channel. I just kind of give you a general rundown about what I think about shows. And this is one that I love, and I think as it went on, it maintained pretty much all of the time being really great until the last few episodes and the finale. It has that thing in common with Last Man Standing, the Tim Allen show that I recently finished watching a couple of years ago, where I loved Last Man Standing, pretty much from beginning to end, but like the final few episodes were so dry and lackluster, and the finale was so rough. It really didn't work for the audience or the cast and crew, in my opinion. It wasn't what any of us deserved. This had the same thing in common, just so you know up front. But the majority of the show, pretty much every season of it, even that final season, were really fun and really good, in my opinion. So Three's Company, where do I even start with this? Essentially, there are 2 young women who are beautiful, mainly the one I am obsessed with, Joyce DeWitt's character, Janet, who is a very kind of skittish, weirdo, funny, nutty lady. I love her so much. She just gets better and sexier the older I get. And then there's the other one who's a complete moron and dummy, played by Suzanne Summers, the pinup model from Once Upon a Time, who I've never thought was as pretty as everybody said she was. I don't really get it. Maybe it's because I'm from a different generation 20 years down the road, but I never really liked Suzanne Summers all that much. She kind of seemed rude in real life. I don't know. But she plays a character named Chrissy Snow, which is really Christmas Snow. I love her name for that. My wife does too. And Janet and Chrissy recently had a roommate move out, and now they need a new one. They don't really have anybody. They're about to have their month's rent come up. And there's a guy that falls asleep in their bathroom, I think during a party, if I remember correctly. And they meet him. He's played by John Ritter, and his name is Jack Tripper. And he's a clumsy, lovable, handsome dude that I miss so much. He passed away years ago, like 2003, I think is what it was. On 9/11 in 2003, matter of fact. Really sad. Really, really sad, man. But I miss him dearly, and he's so good in this show. And rewatching it, hearing how he delivers his lines, watching him trip over things, because his name is Jack Tripper, he does fall a lot. He basically talks to the girls, convinces them to let him live there. And he's an upcoming chef, he's in schooling for that. And essentially they have to lie to the landlord, the 2 landlords, the husband and wife named the Ropers, who are pretty fun, but I actually prefer a later landlord I'll talk about in a moment. They have to lie to the two ropers, who are the landlords, and tell them that Jack is gay, because this was in the 70s. You weren't allowed to live with two girls and be a man, you know, but this was a case where they realized they thought Jack was gay. He's very much not gay at all. This show would not survive 2024. There's probably a reason you don't really see reruns on cable for this show anymore. Maybe it's a licensing thing, I don't know, but it's been a long time since I've seen this be on TV, and my family over at my mom's house have had cable forever. They only dropped that like last year. Never seen Three's Company rerun on those channels, and I think because it would be controversial now if the wackos on Twitter knew about this show. Anyway, basically, these three get into misunderstandings and miscommunications like I talked about a moment ago, whether it be with their landlords, with friends like Jack's best friend Larry, who's a used car salesman, and he reminds me of my great uncle Duke. I love Duke, but Larry reminds me so much of Duke, it's great. I love Larry. Great, great, great character. Eventually we get a new landlord because the Ropers go off to have a spin-off show after like season 3 or something. I've only seen like one tidbit of the Ropers TV show, and not having our main cast there is like when you did the Cleveland show, even though I like the Cleveland show. When you take a B character and you spin them off into their own show for some weird behind-the-scenes contract deal to make somebody feel better about themselves, it's kind of a bad idea. I think the Ropers didn't even make it like one season and got canceled. I'm bummed about that, but the show wasn't that good to begin with for what I saw. But we got a new landlord at one point. He was played by Mr. Don Knotts. His name is Ralph Furley. I love Mr. Furley. Mr. Furley is easily my favorite part of the show. Aside from Jack, Jack is my favorite character. Mr. Furley is my second favorite character. He is so funny, he is crazy as hell, and I love him. But eventually some drama behind the scenes happened between Joyce DeWitt and Jack Tripper, or John Ritter, excuse me, and Suzanne Summers. They had a falling out because the other two, who contributed way more to the show, they were way better actors, way better comedians for that matter, they had such a better performance than Suzanne Summers that she like dropped out of the show, didn't want to be in the same room as them. They had maybe 3 or 4 episodes dedicated to her being on a phone by herself somewhere else, and they bring in Chrissy's cousin named Cindy. I'm gonna be honest with you, Cindy is the worst part of this show, and I'm so glad she's there for like a season or a season and a half and she's gone. She's just awful. The girl playing her is not really the prettiest thing ever. She's a little bit prettier than Suzanne Summers in my opinion, but that doesn't make up for anything. They try to make her even dumber and even more stupid than Chrissy was. And it doesn't work just because they're cousins. I hate Cindy. I can't stand her. Every time she shows up, I want to gag, because I can't stand her. She ruins everything. She just marches into the apartment, slamming doors and shit. Can't stand her. But then eventually, the show got even better when we got the beautiful, wonderful, from the stepfather to Terry. I love Terry. Terry is so fucking hot. She is a nurse. She's so sexy. She has this charm about her. She's not like a Janet clone. She's like a different character entirely. Not like how Cindy is a copy of Chrissy, but even worse, she is her own character, and I really love Terry. I think some really good jokes about doctors' offices and nurses' outfits and stuff come from that character. This show is kind of raunchy for its time. To be on basic cable, it's kind of raunchy in its own way. And that surprises me in a world that hadn't seen terrible-ass movies like Porky's or, other things like that. Animal House, I don't think had come out yet until the show had already begun. This show was so surprisingly comedic and not PC whatsoever for its time. I love that about it. It really does get you laughing. I haven't shown this show to one person who has not laughed at it a ton, especially in the first few episodes. My childhood best friend loves it. My wife had never seen it. She loved it too. Everybody I've shown the show loves it. Especially people my age who've never heard of it before, who never grew up watching TV Land and Nick at Night that much. It is such a classic sitcom. It is so fucking funny. And there's just so many good jokes and episodes I could talk about endlessly, dude. There are so many great circumstances, and you would think for a show that is so repetitive on the formula that it would get dull really quick, and it really doesn't, man. I love it. I think it is just endlessly rewatchable, except for that final few episodes like I talked about. But it's great. Eventually, I want to watch the entirety of The Ropers, and eventually, the final show that this eventually spun off into, like a week after its finale premiered, called Three's a Crowd. Three's a Crowd I watched the first episode of on Tubi maybe a year ago, maybe less than a year ago, and I was not into it. It was the same situation as The Ropers, where you're taking even just one main character. I'm not going to tell you who, but you put one main character into that situation, and it just doesn't work. It just does not work without, like, everybody there. Three's Company is lightning in a bottle. It's lightning in a bottle in every way, as a sitcom, as a TV show, as a comedy. It feels like a stage play, but even like the sets and stuff just make me feel like I'm at home because of how much I grew up on this show. Three's Company is a classic. If you haven't seen it before, you are missing out, my friend. Despite the final couple of episodes being really weak, I am going to say, I think it's basically a perfect show. I think the theme song, Come and Knock on Our Door, that's great. I love it. It's so good, man. I adore it. I love the way it's shot. I think it is so incredibly filled with people who are so damn talented. I adore it. I adore everything about it aside from Cindy in the last couple of episodes and kind of Suzanne Summers. She gets on my nerves. But it's great. It's so funny, and if you haven't seen it before, you owe it to yourself to take out some time and watch this. It'll be worth every second you spend on it, every cent you spend on it. And if I had to rate it on a 5-star basis, I'd give it a 5 out of 5 stars. Easily. And may I say, this is in the top 10 theme songs of all time, up there with Halloween and Phantasm. When it comes to TV shows, this is up there with like the kind of latter seasons of Boy Meets World's theme song. It's amazing. It's so amazing, man. Better theme song than Full House, I would say. I know that's a controversial thing to say with people my age, but I stand by it, damn it. Anyway, have you seen Three's Company? What do you think about it? Have you seen The Ropers or Three's a Crowd? What do you think about those? I love this show, and I recommend it. I could not say it enough. So check it out. Let me know what you think about it down below. If you've never seen it and you're basing your first time watching it off my opinion, I'd love to hear what you all have to say. Thank you guys again. God bless you all again, and goodbye.